Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming. The European Union is preparing to ruin the internet as we know it. On many news sites it's been said that this could kill memes, but the implications are far more serious than just the death of memery online. So, from the Parliament, Politics, Policy and People magazine, fierce battle lines are being drawn ahead of a crunch parliamentary vote on a planned shakeup of European Union-wide copyright laws. On the 20th of June, Parliament's Legal Affairs Committee will vote on the biggest potential change to copyright law in the last 30 years. The European Commission made the initial proposal 2 years ago, and at its heart were two radical changes that fundamentally change copyright practice in most of Europe. First, it creates a new ancillary right for news publishers, often dubbed the link tax. And second, it places a new general obligation on internet platforms and websites to pre-monitor user content on their website for copyright infringements. Critics, including ECR Group Member of Parliament Dan Dalton, say that both of these changes will hit consumers and small businesses in Europe very hard. The so-called neighboring right clause in the directive has arguably proved to be the most controversial element of the draft law. Now, more than 100 members of the European Parliament have sent a letter to Axel Voss, who is the Parliament's rapporteur on the file. Voss, an EPP group member, supports the controversial legislation, which is also backed by most major media and press publishers. Internet companies like Google and Twitter, however, fiercely oppose it. The MEP's letter, seen by this website, reads, "We're extremely worried about the impact that the introduction of a new neighboring right for press publisher will have on access to news and information. While we support efforts to ensure a level playing field between online platforms and businesses for the enforcement of competition and consumer rules, we believe that the introduction of a new European neighboring right will have nascent and injurious effects on citizens' access to quality news and information. We urge you to..." And they go on for a couple of points. The letter goes on, "Ahead of the vote, we urge you to consider the deletion of Article 11 of the Directive of Copyright and Digital Single Market and find an alternative, less invasive and more proportionate solution to support quality journalism and freedom of the press in the digital age." However, the EPP is spearheading a vocal lobbying effort designed to ensure that the legislation is adopted at committee stage later this month. The party and its affiliate in the parliament say it will give much needed legal protection for publishers across Europe. The EPP policy paper on the copyright directive, also seen by this website, states that it has strong concerns that the growth of traditional media in the digital sphere is challenged by some news aggregators and online service providers that develop their activities by using rights holder content without contributing to sustain the investments in its creation and without ensuring fair remuneration of the creators. The paper goes to say the EPP is of the opinion that specific right for publishers provides more legal certainty regarding licensing and enforcement of rights, strengthening the press publisher's position, and also contributes to safeguarding quality journalism over fake news. Oh dear. Fake news. How interesting. How about censoring the media online? That's clearly what this is designed to do, really. It's designed to shut down the quote-unquote non-traditional media outlets, including YouTube, believe it or not. Because guess what? This affects pictures, or this affects you using sources. Now, I personally read from articles in a lot of the political videos I do, not because I need them necessarily to make my point, but because it's useful to have a source, and obviously I give credit for that. But if you have to pay for that, then things start getting bloody ridiculous. So this change could, beyond obviously ruining YouTube, so we're not just talking about content inside the videos, we're not just talking about, say, some photo or, anything like that could be inside the video that could get you tagged by an algorithm online. That's already happening. It could very well get worse. It would get worse under this idea. But we're also talking about thumbnails on a lot of videos. Because guess what? At the end of the day, the vast majority of thumbnails on YouTube are things using copyrighted material. And here's the thing. The reason that can happen is because there was a legal case on this very issue, and it was ruled that thumbnails do not violate copyright law. Now, whether or not something like that would happen, it's unclear. But it seems to me that Europe is moving in the direction where they're trying to control the internet more and more. I mean, we have people being arrested for Facebook posts. We have people being fined. We have this desire, strong desire, among the European elites to control the kind of information that people get online. And that's what is at the core of this issue. It's not just ruining YouTube. It's not just ruining the internet as we know. It's not just regulating the internet, which grew to the point that it has because of a lack of regulation, even in many areas. And or de facto regulation such as net neutrality, which was upheld for a very long time, which has existed since the dawn of the internet, and only recently have you seen companies try and abuse that and then become real regulation. But the way the internet has gone for many years has helped it get to this point. But now the people in charge of the political machines of Europe and even America to an extent want to control it. The thing is, they don't really understand how things actually work online. They're going to make these changes, or they're going to propose these changes, and it's just going to end up hurting a great deal of things. I mean, this change, for instance, would hurt Google significantly. Now, you can say, well, I'm not a fan of Google. I think they've done a huge amount of horrible things. Sure, but burning everything to the ground is not exactly a solution to the problems. I mean, I wish Google would do things better. I wish it would stop screwing over with people on its various platforms, in particular YouTube. I really wish they would stop doing those things. I also wish they would not abuse the power they have, because they do abuse it. But one shouldn't trust the European Commission, which is pushing for this very hard. It's not just European parliamentary parties, it's the European Commission, which wants this to happen. And the European Commission is the elite of the elite, the technocrats in Brussels, the out-of-touch snobs in Brussels like Juncker, as an example, who have no understanding of what's actually going on in reality. And mind you, while Europe is busily imposing censorship, screwing over things on the internet, pushing for directives like this, revamping copyright laws, the whole of the European Union is more or less collapsing. I'm not talking here about Britain. I mean, look at Italy, look at Spain, look at Greece, look at Poland, look at Hungary. I mean, how many hits does Europe need to take until those idiots in Brussels realize, whoa, this is not going the way we thought. Let's try a different solution. No, they're doubling down, tripling down. They don't want to change anything. And now it seems their solution, we'll just censor the internet. We'll implement greater control of the kind of content you can see online. It will give traditional media publishers more power than they already have, as in going in exactly the worst direction that they possibly could, and an authoritarian direction as well. So much for freedom of speech or democracy in Europe. Apparently, we cannot go against the much vaunted elites that are in power and make the decisions for us. Great stuff, really. Things are going to work out so wonderfully for the rest of humanity. But again, Europe is collapsing, and it's because they are making a lot of decisions like these that are just pissing people off, because they do not want to acknowledge the problems that we actually face, or the problems people perceive. They don't want to acknowledge them. They don't want to deal with them. They want to throw them under the carpet, pretend they don't exist, and that to them is a solution, except it isn't a solution. And with regards to this, yes, there is an abuse of copyright. That is undeniable. But trying to police the internet, and certainly trying to police it with an algorithm method, isn't something that's going to work very well. We've seen Google try this. It blew up in their face. You think the European Union is much more capable in Europe of doing something like this? Or hey, let's put a tax on people who link articles online on various sites. That's going to go very well as well. Or let's limit the flow of information, because that's certainly great in the modern age. That's the biggest problem, the flow of information. You know, it's changed politics significantly because people have access to information in this day and age because of the internet, like they never have in the past. And that is obviously a threat for those that are in power. And now you see movements to control that. And you also see some support from certain people of the public that may not like the outcomes that they get politically when people do have a bigger picture of what is going on around the world, because they ain't pretty. It really ain't pretty. Politics is a very dirty business. A lot of the things that are going on in the world are very dirty, very ugly, and so they want to control the flow of information. Well, I'm starting to wonder if they've been, if they're trying to follow in China's example, if that's ultimately the end goal over there. Anyway, Costin here on Serious Gaming signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more. And if you do like my content, please do consider supporting me via PayPal or Patreon.